You're watching Let the Quran Speak. Now we answer questions we've received from you, our viewers. If you have a question yourself, please visit our website, www.quranspeaks.com. Okay, Brother Shabir, the first question is about Abraham. And the person is asking, how can Abraham have built the Kaaba? Did he travel 700 miles all the way to Mecca from Jerusalem in his old age? How does that work?
Well, the Bible shows that Abraham was well traveled. And the journeys in those ancient times, from our perspective now, seem to be quite impossible. Yet the Bible says that they did happen. And the Quranic story shows too that he has traveled, though the Quran does not give the actual places to which he has traveled, as mentioned in detail in the Bible. But what is not there in the Bible and is there in Islamic tradition is that Abraham descended into Arabia, and that's where he established the foundation of the Kaaba. So to give some perspective on this, the Bible shows that Abraham left Ur of the Chaldeans, which is near the foot of the Euphrates River. And then from that southern region, he traveled all the way up north into Haran, and then down south again into Palestine. And then from Palestine, he went all the way across to Egypt, across the Sinai Peninsula, and then back to Palestine. So if he could have done all of that from looking at the Islamic tradition that says that he went down into Arabia, it's not such a far stretch after all. Because coming back from Egypt, for example, one would cross over the Red Sea and come into the Arabian Peninsula before going back north into Palestine. But when exactly and in which part of all of these traveling that Abraham made a detour into Arabia, this is not specified in the tradition, but Muslim tradition is very clear, and this is something that survives from the memory of the Arabs, that Abraham was in their region and that he was responsible for laying the foundation of the Kaaba, that sacred house of worship, which was set up for the worship of one God. And that is something for which Abraham was otherwise quite well known. He is regarded as the father of monotheism.
Actually, a follow-up question is, the person is asking, were other religious traditions aware, or religious communities actually aware of the fact that Abraham had built the Kaaba?
The only other community we know of that mentions Abraham is the Judeo-Christian community, because of the mention of Abraham in the Bible. And the Bible does not mention that Abraham did go into Arabia or anywhere else to raise the foundation of the Kaaba. This is specifically Quranic and is found in the Islamic tradition. So outside of the Islamic tradition, no, I'm not aware of anyone else believing that Abraham did this.
Okay. So here's another question. It's about the Prophet Muhammad, and the question is it true that the Prophet Muhammad killed many people, for example, the Jews of Medina? And the person gives details, capturing them, executing them, and taking their land.
There are Muslim traditions that mention this. And reading those traditions, one should ask a few questions. First, if so many people were killed all at once, like what is the after effect of this? Because certainly there is an effect. The traditions show that the Jews were besieged, the Banu Qurayza tribe in particular, and then their men were brought forward and they were executed one after another. The execution of a large number of them took obviously many hours, and the traditions do mention this, that it went like up until the Asr time, for example. And the traditions give their number variously, anywhere from between 400 to 900. So varying traditions give different numbers. And then the traditions say that the women and children were taken as slaves by the Muslim community. Well, if that many men were killed, then you have probably about 3 to 4 times as many in terms of women and children. So if you have, let's say, about 3 to 4,000 women and children altogether surviving with that memory of what has happened to their male relatives, then that will survive and become a widely known phenomenon. Not only as a memory, but you will have occasions of somebody trying trying to take revenge for this having occurred in the past. But no such thing is mentioned. I'm not aware in Islamic tradition that somebody, let's say, killed a Muslim for the fact that his ancestor was killed on that particular occasion. So if, logically, if A happens and B should follow from A, and if B does not follow, then we should ask, well, wait a minute, did A really happen? So if this event really happened as described in Islamic tradition, then where is the fallout from it? We're not seeing the fallout. That's the one thing. Secondly, in the traditions it is mentioned that this event occurred right after the Battle of the Trench, in which a trench was dug to stave off the enemy from advancing. And it's after the enemy was staved off, that is when the Muslims turned towards the Banu Qurayza and started to take them to task for their perceived treachery and their collusion with the enemy who was attacking the Muslims. So now, after these men were killed, it is said, a ditch was dug to bury the bodies of these people in the marketplace. Well, the question is, if you already had a ditch dug, which was for the purpose of staving off the enemy, why not throw them in the same ditch? Why have to go through the trouble of digging a new ditch? It's not like you have modern equipment that could, just go digging wherever you want at random. Easily, you just press a button or pull a lever and you're digging soil. They had to dig with pickaxes and shovels. So that doesn't make sense too. Third, the place should be marked off and known, but it's not known. So for many of such reasons, this story is very doubtful.
All right, we'll have to leave it at that. Thank you, Brother Shabir.
You're welcome.
And we'd like to hear from you. For updates and additional information, please visit our website, www.quranspeaks.com. And write to us, because your comments and questions help guide the show. I'm Safiya Ali. For all of us here at Let the Quran Speak, thank you for watching. I'll see you next week.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.